Hi, I'm Shivan Sarna, and it is a pleasure to have you here. My platform is SIBO SOS. The SOS was originally save me for the love of all things holy. Someone come down here from the heavens and save me. But it came to organically mean save ourselves. And I also have the chronic condition rescue, which is the umbrella over everything I do in this area of my life. And it was because I had so many things wrong with me. And I knew that if I figured it out, I would tell other people. That was sort of my internal pledge. I wasn't coming from a place that I don't think anyone knows what's happening, or I don't think anyone could possibly, know how to fix what's happening to me. I actually had this internal knowing that people do know. I just need to find them. And after I went to all of these people, by the way, were fantastic, and they're all important healing modalities: acupuncturist, Ayurveda, cortisone shots, foot reflexology, a personal favorite. Well, gosh, personal training, therapy, cryotherapy. Oh, you name it, I probably tried it. And nothing was really helping me. Now, at the same time, unbeknownst to me, I was working in a moldy building and had done so for 20 years. So that did not help. But I had a lot of other things going on that were all contributing back and forth, and really, really felt terrible. I had such bad brain fog one day that I could not speak, which was extremely horrifying, especially considered I was a TV host at the time, considering that. And so it just was really important that I got well for all of those reasons. And I truly am a communicator and truly want to get the word out about how to, be well and live this existence as best as possible. And so that's how this all came together. I did my first summit, and now we're 10 summits in, and I'm working on my 11th, which is the science and wisdom of menopause, launching in February of 2025. I'm super excited about that. And then on the other side of that one, it is healthy. Not, this isn't the title, okay? Healthy, ooh, I spit my lip. Healthy skin, hair, teeth and bones with a dash of hearing and eyesight. Anybody have a good suggestion about the thing to call that? Don't put it in the chat right now. You can email me at info@sibosos.com. So we'll talk about, I'll do a call to action again about that later, because I am looking for a good title. Okay, enough of that. My special guest is Dr. Sarah Ellis. She's a naturopathic physician. She is, give me that title again, Sarah.
Yep, I'm a clinical science liaison with Microbial Labs.
Thank you. And she is one of our go-tos for educating our community about different things, from the microbiome to the immune system to immunoglobulins. And I just thought they were all called IgG. So she just beforehand, I asked her that quick question before we started, and she's like, well, actually, they're called by different names. So we're going to learn about that. These are super powerhouse substances that can truly, truly help. And I've seen so many people help by them, including our beloved Dr. Allison Seebecker. I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to hand things over to you, Dr. Ellis, and share your screen. We do have a special discount for you for anything from Microbiome Labs today, with 15% off. I'll pop that into the chat as we go. In the meanwhile, immunoglobulins. That is a mouthful, woman.
It really is.
That's a tongue twister. All right. Thank you so much. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Shivan. Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to be back with you all. Today's talk, I'm really excited about, especially because the kids have gone back to school. It's cold and flu season. So this is a perfect timely talk to talk about immunoglobulins 101, how to use it to support mucosal immunity, microbial balance, and so much more. So let's get started. So we're going to cover a couple of topics today. We're going to start with the basics of what immunoglobulins are and why they matter to the gut. We'll discuss specifically serum-derived bovine immunoglobulins. We'll talk about what they are and what that means. And then we'll discuss a bit about how they can be helpful with detox and leaky gut. And then at the end, we'll talk about the best ways to use the immunoglobulin containing products at Microbiome Labs. Specifically, we'll take our time walking through Mega IgG 2000 and Mega Mucosa. All right. So what are immunoglobulins? Shivan did ask this question earlier, asking if they were all called IgG, and there are actually several different types of immunoglobulins. An immunoglobulin is a glycoprotein, so a combination of protein and sugar, that's made by our own immune system, by our plasma cells. And essentially, our plasma cells, once they receive fragments of an antigen, whether it is a bacterial fragment, viral, parasitic, a toxin, what will happen is the plasma cells will receive that information and they will create different immunoglobulins like IgG. Let me shrink that down a little bit. Okay, like IgG, IgE, IgM, IgA, and IgD. All of these have different shapes and structures, and our immune system and those plasma cells, as they're making those immunoglobulins, they can change these upper receptors here that help the antibody bind or immunoglobulin bind to that pathogen, whether it's a bacteria, a virus, or anything like that. Now, again, they are produced in response to the presence of an antigen. Once you are exposed to, say, E. coli, your dendritic cells will engulf it and share it with the plasma cells. The plasma cells say, okay, great. We see that E. coli is here. We're going to make these antibodies to go get it. And so all of these antibodies play a role in binding up those pathogens in regards to our immune system. Now, the immunoglobulins in humans can make up 25 to 30% of the proteins that are in our serum or in our blood. And for the context of this discussion, the immunoglobulins that we're talking about are also considered antibodies or called antibodies. Now, the most common one is IgG. If any of you have ever run or had a food sensitivity test run on you, you would know that they are measuring for the levels of IgG antibodies and IgE. So IgG usually is elevated in food sensitivity situations, whereas IgE here is elevated in actual allergic situations. So this is if a patient has an IgE allergy, that means that their body will release this specific antibody along with a series of other allergic reactions like hives, angioedema, or swelling, and that sort of thing. IgM and IgA, those are released depending on whether or not that's a new infection or a chronic infection, specifically with IgM. And then with IgA, many of you, if you've run a stool test, you may have run a test that measures secretory IgA. And that's because IgA is an immunoglobulin that's present in our mucosal areas. So, of course, our gut and our gut mucosa, but also our oral cavity, nasal cavity. That's usually where we see the expression of IgA. And IgA can also be translocated or transmitted through breast milk as well. So now that we have kind of a foundation of immunoglobulins, their role in the immune system, and with certain allergic reactions and immune responses, let's spend a little bit more time talking about serum-derived bovine immunoglobulins. So these specific immunoglobulins are bovine-derived, and so that means they come from cows. And they're serum-derived, meaning that they are pulled from the plasma and the serum from the blood of those cows. And so it's actually an isolate. They have isolated and spun it down, specifically down to those immunoglobulin proteins. At Microbial Labs, we have a product called Mega IgG 2000 that contains immunolin. And immunolin is a raw ingredient that is an immunoglobulin powder. And so this powder is 92% protein. So 92% of this product is mostly immunoglobulins. And this is important because when choosing an immunoglobulin product, you want to make sure that you're choosing one that has a significant amount of the immunoglobulins present, because that will encourage and support the benefits and mechanism of action, which we'll get into in just a moment. Now, it's important that about 60% of the protein in this SBI or immunoglobulin product is made up of 3 different immunoglobulins. So we have IgG, which is one of our main immunoglobulins that can bind to a variety of different pathogens and antigens. It has about 1% of IgA, which is important for supporting mucosal support and mucosal health, which we'll talk about more in just a few. And then IgM, it has about 5% of IgM, which is very important for supporting the immune response in an acute or recent infection. Now, of course, it also contains other proteins like albumin and all of those consistent with what's found in plasma. This is a well-tested ingredient and has one of the highest concentrations of naturally sourced immunoglobulins. Now let's talk a little bit about how these work. How do these serum-derived bovine immunoglobulins work? Well, think of them as like concentrated antibodies, right? So intestinal disorders usually start due to dysbiosis, which we'll tap into in just a few. But essentially, when there's an imbalance between good and bad bacteria, the inflammation that starts or develops because of that dysbiosis and imbalance can lead to the development of a variety of intestinal disorders. IgG can come in, or these immunoglobulins can come in and bind some of those microbial components, like toxins like lipopolysaccharide, which I'm sure you all have heard us talk about a number of times, and we'll talk about it again today. But by binding some of those microbial components that activate our immune system, these immunoglobulins can help us maintain balance in the immune system within the gut. It can also support gut barrier function. When we look at the colonocytes, healthy colonocytes, they have very tight junctions, and dysbiosis can cause those to be weakened. And so the immunoglobulins can help repair those weakened tight junctions. And then, of course, by balancing the immune system and improving the gut barrier and mucosal layer, this helps support nutrient utilization. It helps both our colon or small intestine as well as the microbes begin to uptake and use some of the nutrients that we're getting from our food to support a healthy and resilient microbiome. So how exactly do these immunoglobulins support gut health? Well, the answer to this question starts by discussing the mucosal barrier. Now, the gut is, if you think of like a paper towel roll, an empty paper towel roll, the actual paper lining, you can think of that as the colon. And then the inside, that kind of hole in the middle, that's the lumen of our colon. And so a healthy gut will have a thick lining of mucus that separates the bacteria from having direct contact with our colon cells. Now, a healthy GI tract has a thick layer of mucus that's produced by these goblet cells here. Now, the mucosal barrier has a lot of functions for us as host. So again, it maintains that barrier between the bacteria and our colon cells. It acts as a front line of defense because of that secretory IgA, that IgA immunoglobulin that's floating around and binding to different bacteria and toxins. Here you'll see the dendritic cell. This is one of the immune cells that can reach through these intestinal cells and sample the bacteria that are present. If it samples a pathogen, again, like E. coli, it will take it to the plasma cell, which will make antibodies to fight against the presence of that bacteria. The mucosal barrier can lubricate the epithelium and help protect it from damage. And the mucosal structure and chemical structure of those sugars that make up the mucin can help retain growth factors and other signaling molecules that are very important for the function of our colon and those enterocytes. Now, mucin disruption or mucin production by these goblet cells can be interrupted by a number of things. So microbes, of course, the bacteria have a very big role and play a very big role in how these goblet cells work. If they are causing inflammation, that could damage the goblet cells and allow them to die and not be able to produce as much mucin. And then, of course, cytokines. So cytokines are chemicals that are released from these immune cells that kind of call in reinforcements. Think of these cytokines as kind of like a 911 call, requesting backup for more immune support to fight off this supposed infection. So all of these things can play a role in how many healthy goblet cells we have to make mucin. So all of this is important because gut dysbiosis is often at the root of this, right? So our immunoglobulins are here to bind any toxins and pathogens, and usually toxins and pathogens are found in a dysbiotic gut. So let me turn my laser pointer on. Okay, so in a balanced gut where there's homeostasis, we can kind of see that there are a balance between all of the different type of bacteria here, right? Now, dysbiosis can be defined as a reduction in the beneficial bacteria or the expansion of pathogenic bacteria. So, for example, if we are seeing an expansion of the pathogenic bacteria, what we're seeing is all of the different type of bacteria are still present, but most of them are these pathogens over here and not as many of the beneficial ones over here on the right. Dysbiosis can also look like reduced diversity. So in a healthy gut, we like to see a lot of different type of bacteria. As we see here, we have kind of all colors, right? But a dysbiotic gut, even though you may have both good and bad bacteria present, if you don't have a lot of diversity, that's going to impact the benefits that you get from your microbiome. And of course, as I said earlier, dysbiosis can look like the loss of beneficial microbes. So even though the bad bacteria haven't necessarily become overgrown, this microbiome is missing many of those beneficial bacterial species. So how do we go from this healthy gut here to a dysbiotic gut down here? Well, there are a number of things that can cause and lead to dysbiosis. We have prescription antibiotics, as well as natural antimicrobials, pesticides, infections, lifestyle habits and considerations like excessive alcohol intake, smoking, high and chronic stress levels, poor sleep, intense exercise, and of course, we can't forget about the diet. Patients and people with standard American diet that's high in saturated fat and low in fiber will definitely be more at risk for developing gut dysbiosis. So why does this matter? Well, of course, the type of bacteria that are present in the gut does impact the type of products or things that are being produced by the gut. So, for example, when you have a microbiome that has plenty of commensals or healthy bacteria, we're going to have a microbiome that makes short-chain fatty acids, vitamins, antioxidants, neurotransmitters, and the gut pH will be at optimal levels. However, when a patient has dysbiosis and more opportunistic and pathogenic bacteria than health-promoting ones, we may see that their gut will have some toxins present, like ammonia, hydrogen sulfide, methane, a variety of other toxins that are pathogen specific, as well as lipopolysaccharide, which is found on the surfaces of gram-negative bacteria. A little bit more about LPS. I think this is probably one topic that we talk about very, very frequently here at Microbiome Labs, but that's because it's quite important. So lipopolysaccharide is a toxin that is present on the surfaces of gram-negative bacteria. Now, this is important because gram-negative bacteria make up 50 to 60% of the bacteria in our microbiome. Now, when it's inside of and enclosed and encapsulated inside of the bacterium, it doesn't present any problem to us, actually. But the issue happens when we kill that bacteria, when that bacteria dies after we take antibiotics or even natural antimicrobials, or even after we eat, which the process of eating kills off the bacteria, some of the bacteria in our gut. So when the bacteria dies, it releases some of the LPS that's present in that bacterial cell. And when it is released, it causes inflammation in the gut and cause weakened tight junctions. So let's take a look at what happens when we have a dysbiotic gut. So over here on the left, a healthy gut is one that has low levels of pathogens, a strong mucosal barrier, low mucosal inflammation, so there's not a lot of inflammatory processes going on here. Strong, tight junctions between these colon cells as well. Now, there we go. A dysbiotic gut is going to have many more bacteria that are mucus degrading and toxin producing. Specifically, we can see LPS kind of hanging around here. As that inflammatory process continues, we'll see these tight junctions that were here begin to weaken and stretch. This can lead to further inflammation where these intestinal cells begin to break apart, and lipopolysaccharide can make its way through into circulation, activate our immune cells, and activate those inflammatory cytokines that are used to recruit even more immune cells to fight off this perceived infection. Now let's circle back to the immunoglobulins and, mega IgG 2000 and how this helps. This is a microscopic depiction of the potential impact of SBI, or serum bovine immunoglobulins. So here we can see that SBI is going to bind these pathogens. We can see these purple immunoglobulins just binding up those pathogens and gram-negative bacteria that have LPS. This leads to a reduced antigen uptake. So see, these dendritic cells don't have the opportunity to reach through and sample those bacteria and turn on the cytokines that recruit more inflammatory cells. For many reasons, the SBI or immunoglobulin has really great affinity for improving the tight junctions in the gut barrier. We can see that the proteins feed the bacteria and help turn on the tight junction genes to improve these. This is going to lead to improved nutrient utilization, a more balanced GI immune system, and of course, restoration of tight junction protein expression to restore that barrier. All right, so the other topic we wanted to discuss was how do immunoglobulins support detoxification? So we just walked through how immunoglobulins support leaky gut and metabolic endotoxemia with the excess lipopolysaccharide. So let's take a look at how immunoglobulins can support the detoxification process. Now, of course, the first thing that we have to do is talk about the main detoxification organ, which is our liver. Now, I have to state that there are multiple organ systems that are involved in detoxification. They work together to accomplish the job of filtration and detoxification. And all of this is done while you are going about your day. So you don't necessarily need a specific detoxification moment unless you've gone through a very heavy toxic exposure. But know and understand that detoxification is a natural process that your body is already doing. There's just things that we could support it. Now, the liver is our primary filtration system, and it is able to convert toxins, into waste products. It cleans our blood, metabolizes medications that we take, nutrients, supplements, and so much more. Now, there are three main ways that the liver detoxifies our body, right? It filters the blood, which we'll talk about in just a moment. It produces bile, and bile is released to help clear out any, think of bile as kind of like a squeegee in the small intestine. So it clears out any bacterial overgrowth that's present in the small intestine shortly before you ingest a meal. And then, of course, the liver uses enzymes to help break down toxic chemicals. So let's walk through how the liver uses certain enzymes to detoxify. So say you take a drug, say you take Tylenol, and when it enters your bloodstream and your liver, it can go through two different detoxification pathways. It can be oxidized by the enzymes in the liver, which changes the shape of the chemical and makes it able to be removed through urine. Or then it can also go through an additional metabolism process to be sent through the bile and eventually through the stool. Now, some drugs can also just start with another process called conjugation. This is where the liver adds on another chemical to make the drug less toxic. And then once it stabilizes that structure, it is sent to the liver, which dumps it into the bile, and then it goes through what I like to call phase 3 metabolism, which is elimination. All right. So you heard me mention phase 3 elimination, but let's back up a little bit and talk about the phases of detoxification. When we discuss detoxification and we talk about the liver actually performs the first two phases of detoxing. So phase 1 is called biotransformation. This is where those cytochrome P450 enzymes come in, and they produce or activate chemical reactions to change the chemical structure of the toxin or compound. This allows fat-based toxins, it turns them into water-soluble toxins that can be removed in the urine. Now, there are a couple of things that can cause this process to not work as efficiently. So again, not having good detoxification in phase 1 can cause some of the fat-soluble toxins like xenoestrogens and glyphosate. We don't want them to build up in our fat tissue. Now, phase 1 detoxification does require some nutrients to help it work properly. That's usually glutathione, which I'm sure most of you know, that's like our gold standard antioxidant compound that is produced in the liver. B vitamins are important, particularly B6 and B12. Vitamin C, fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K. Flavonoids or certain chemicals that are in herbs and plants. Polyphenols, the chemicals that make our fruits and vegetables beautiful and bright and colorful, as well as different minerals like calcium and magnesium. Now, once phase 1 takes place, if it's not quite water soluble, the liver will transfer it over to phase 2. Now, phase 2 is where the liver says, maybe I can add something to this chemical structure to make it easier for us to remove it through the stool. And that's exactly what it does. So it adds another compound to that chemical structure, makes it more stable, and then moves it into the bile where it's removed through stool. Now, it continues the process of metabolizing those water-soluble metabolites, but phase two can be slowed down by a poor diet, particularly one that's low in protein and low in amino acids and other nutrients. Now, here are some nutrients that are important to help phase two detoxification: zinc and selenium, sulfur or sulfur-containing amino acids like cysteine and taurine, glutathione, certain amino acids like glycine, choline, and methionine, as well as flavonoids. Now, really, since we're talking about the gut and the immunoglobulins, phase three is one of the kind of forgotten phases of detoxification because there's no point in, conjugating and changing these chemical structures if the gut is not in a healthy way and is not able to help facilitate the removal of those toxins. That requires a healthy gut and a diverse microbiome. Now, a dysbiotic gut from gram-negative bacteria and lipopolysaccharides can actually deconjugate. It can take off that compound that the liver added in to help make it more stable. The bacteria can remove that, and then the toxin is able to go back into circulation. And we'll talk a little bit about that now. So one of the other ways in which the microbiome can sabotage detoxification is through the estrobolome, or the way in which it facilitates estrogen recycling. So some bacteria make an enzyme called beta-glucuronidase. And beta-glucuronidase can essentially block this activity. And once the liver has added on that stabilizing compound, this enzyme allows that compound to be free. Specifically, in this case, we're talking about estrogen. It allows estrogen to be free and go back into the body where it can activate estrogen receptors all over again. Now, the type of bacteria that make this enzyme that kind of sabotages our detoxification is E. coli, Klebsiella, Pseudomonas, Bacteroides, Shigella, really all of the bad guys we don't want to see in the microbiome. Now, small amounts of this enzyme are helpful when metabolizing xenobiotics, but it's important to know that addressing motility, so constipation and diarrhea, particularly constipation, is very important because having a slow-moving gut allows more of those toxins to be reabsorbed because they're not being passed through the stool in a timely manner. So how can we support phase 3 detoxification or elimination at home? Of course, we're going to spend a number of time talking about Mega IgG 2000 and Mega Mucosa, but there are a couple of other products that can be used to support detoxification and gut health as a whole. Of course, we have Megaspore Biotic, our flagship product here at Microbiome Labs, that is designed to support a healthy gut diversity. So it reconditions the gut, adds in more healthy bacteria to support the production of beneficial products like we talked about earlier, like short chain fatty acids. If any of you are in the UK, you can get Megaspore Biotic with extra antioxidants. So the benefits, you get the benefits of Megaspore, but then you can get these carotenoids and antioxidants from one of our special bacillus spores. And those antioxidants can further support good detoxification as well. Restore Flora is one of our probiotics that has 2 bacillus strains, along with Saccharomyces boulardii, which is a friendly yeast. And it is used and designed to rebuild the gut during and after antibiotics, in which we talked about antibiotics being one of the causes or risk factors with gut dysbiosis. Of course, Mega Metallic can support the body's natural detoxification, and Mega Pre can feed those healthy bacteria to support a healthy and balanced gut. All right, I think we're doing good on time, so we'll have some time for questions. Let's kind of wrap up our talk with talking about the best ways to use immunoglobulin products from Microbiome Labs. So let's start with Mega IgG 2000. We talked about this already. This is our binder. So it binds and eliminates toxins. It has a powerful blend of IgG, IgA, and IgM that can bind and neutralize a variety of bacterial toxins. I have a longer list of things that it can bind to, but it can bind LPS, C. diff, toxins A and B, as well as H. pylori. Now, I wanted to make sure that I note that these immunoglobulins are stronger than colostrum. I know some patients and providers enjoy using colostrum for a number of reasons. But if we are focusing on the binding affinity and binding ability of the immunoglobulins, Mega IgG 2000 contains 45% of our main immunoglobulin IgG, whereas colostrum only has 25%. So we're going to have even more immune balancing power. Now, unlike milk-derived immunoglobulins, like those found in colostrum, our immunoglobulins are dairy-free. So it's because it's serum-derived, it's lactose-free, casein-free, and beta-lactoglobulin-free. We've kind of talked about this already, touched on it, but by binding those toxins and pathogens, Mega IgG 2000 is able to strengthen immune tolerance. So it neutralizes LPS, cools off the inflammation, and really is able to kind of turn the immune system from being activated into calming down. So what exactly does Mega IgG 2000 bind to? Honestly, this is a very short list. Thankfully, this is a list that continues to grow as the research is performed. So let's talk a little bit about some of these antigens that IgG can bind to. So Candida albicans, it can bind to the lysate or the kind of biofilm or hyphae of the Candida albicans. It can also bind to some of the surface proteins on it as well. It can bind to one of the more toxic virulence factors and proteins found in H. pylori. We talked about lipopolysaccharide and C. diff. Flagellin as well, which is a protein that the bacteria use to facilitate its movement and allow it to move throughout the body. Gliadin, which is one of the proteins, the immunomodulatory and immunostimulating protein found in wheat. It can bind to E. coli, Listeria, Salmonella, Klebsiella, Staph, and so much more. Now, it's important to note that our SBI does not adversely affect the growth of the commensal or good GI bacteria. In fact, Immunolin, the company that makes this protein or immunoglobulin protein isolate, they released new data this year showing that, in fact, Mega IgG 2000 can increase the growth of these commensals by kind of working as a prebiotic to feed them and encourage short-chain fatty acid production. I really love the schematic because it's a great way to kind of walk through how Mega IgG 2000 and the immunoglobulins work. So in a gut that is kind of free of these immunoglobulins, we have the pathogens that are present, lipopolysaccharide, a shortened and blunted mucosal layer, weakened tight junctions where the bacteria and toxins can seep through and turn on the immune system. But Mega IgG 2000 and serum bovine immunoglobulins can actually come in here in blue and bind LPS, bind those gram-negative bacteria that make LPS, and instead be able to facilitate its movement through the colon and out through stool. And as you can see here, it's supporting the growth of goblet cells so that more mucin can be used. And also now we can see the immune system is coming in to release more of that secretory IgA antigen to help support the removal of these antigens.
I got so many questions, girl.
All right,
Thank you.
let's
I
do
gotta
it.
interrupt. Okay, thank you so much. Let's put some love into the chat for Sarah. We have a
Yeah.
tight 20 minutes to answer so many questions, but that was beautiful. It was gorgeous. Listen, I wanted to I know, thank you for sending the loves. There's a little icon down there that you can grab and send up. They're just like vitamins for us. Wasn't it good? Great, Jenny. I'm glad you like that. Okay, I want to take care of a little bit of business.
Yeah.
Go into the chat, and I am pasting the coupon code for 15% off everything at Microbiome Labs. That is
Wonderful.
huge. Yeah. So it's saying Mega IG 2000, IgG 2000, because that's what we've been talking about, but it is off of everything. Megaspore, you name it, it's there. It is patient direct code SIBO SOS. It may be auto populated for you, but if it's not, type in SIBO SOS. It's right there. And at checkout, use coupon code no bloat 15. So usually, this is not accessible to everybody. You have to be a practitioner. I have a special dispensation from the wonderful folks at Microbiome Labs, and we wanted to offer this to you. So, all right, Mega Sarah ND, there's a Bastyr fan for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, Bastyr family.
Go team. That's the naturopathic college that she attended. I also wanted to let you know we have a couple of bonuses for you. It is now 3:42, so I like to extend this for about an hour after our session ends, so 5 p.m. Eastern time. If you make a purchase with Microbiome Labs through our link and send me the proof of purchase, you must send me the proof of purchase. Where am I going to send it? Shivan, you send it to info@sibosos.com. There it is. I just put it into the chat. So if tonight please do it tonight too. Can you send me the proof of purchase? We're going to send you something. We're going to send you Sarah's slides, which are super cool. It won't happen instantaneously. My crew needs to attach that for a second, but we'll get it to you within 24 hours. And then also, as I share my screen, hold on. Oh, I just had it. We have a Kiran Krishnan leaky gut class that we'll also send you. Kiran Krishnan is the incredible microbiologist. It's a name I coined for him, microbiologist, who co-founded Microbiome Labs. When you see his face, little arrow over it, you may recognize him. He's all over social media, and he's been working with me for many years now. I'm getting to go see him. And am I going to see you, Sarah, at the conference? Very good.
Sure will. I'm so
That's
excited
great.
to see you.
Thank you. I'm excited too. So anyway, if you wanted to place an order for today by 5 p.m. Eastern time with Microbiome Labs, send me the proof of purchase, and we will send you her slides as well as that masterclass from Kiran Krishnan. Yeah, and the replay, by the way, is happening. We will send you the replay tonight. Okay, that's out of the way. Here comes a question from Whitney. I have PI, and I infuse with IgG every week. How could that affect my gut health? What is PI?
I was going to ask, I'm not sure what PI is. However, with infusions, I'm assuming, that's serum. So that's going to be a bit different. So the IgG that you are infusing into your blood as a treatment, that is for immune support. So it's going to have a bit different effect in the gut. So by ingesting the immunoglobulins orally, these are big proteins. So they stay within the colon. They don't cross through and go through the blood. So instead, they're binding the antigens in your colon rather than the IgG that's infused is acting in the blood. And so, it will help immune support. So that could help with your gut health, but you would need to orally ingest it to see more of that gut improvement.
Okay, here comes another abbreviation. Can these products help someone with CIDP?
I was sitting here trying to figure out what that was, and I'm not sure. So if you could let
Okay,
me know.
Leah, go ahead and repost that in the Q&A box. Cami has taken a food sensitivity test and is not doing well with beef. This is a bovine product. I wouldn't risk it.
Nope.
So what do you think? Okay.
Same.
Yeah. Okay. Are there vegan or vegetarian forms of immunoglobulin replacements? And you talked about that with the um, colostrum. So it is different. Let me tell you this. I asked Karen this question, and I want to hear your take too, Sarah, of course. But I asked Karen, and he said they're just not as powerful. They're just not as powerful. So that's what you had also said.
Correct. And the
Yeah.
mechanism of action is also a bit different.
Right.
So many of the vegetarian or vegan binders are usually going to be like our clay and charcoal and all of those things. And they're a bit, not a bit, they're a lot less sensitive and specific. So they bind all of the things, whereas immunoglobulins are a bit more specific to, yeah, exactly
Yeah.
those antigens.
Okay, everyone, I have over 25 questions in the Q&A box, so please take your questions and put them in the Q&A because I cannot pay attention to that chat. Let's see. When is the best time to take them with or without food?
Good question. We recommend with food,
Mm,
and you can take it before meals. So some of the later slides that you'll get once you get the slide deck, it'll kind of walk you through good timing. So you can take it with your two biggest meals, breakfast and lunch, lunch and dinner. For some patients, if they're particularly sensitive or have a lot of dysbiosis going on, you can take it with every meal, 3 meals. So definitely take it with food and with your biggest meals.
Is it okay to take IgG within a probiotic, or is it best to take separately? If so, why?
Good question. It is okay to take IgG with a probiotic, and that's because you have to remember these are coming from the cow's blood, right? And so the cow, their immune system is able to identify good bacteria like bacillus spores, which are found in the soil that the cows do eat when they're eating the grass. So they consider the bacillus spores to be friendly as well as the lactobacillus and bifido. So if you take the IgG with a spore or lacto or bifidobacteria, the immunoglobulins will not attack them. They'll see them as a friend rather than a foe.
Okay. Jerry was wondering about where the link is. Can you find it in the chat, Jerry? I'm going to go ahead and post it in the chat one more time, and then I'm going to post the really long, the really long link again, because that has all of the other details like the no bloat 15 and the patient direct code of SIBO SOS, which is SIBO SOS. Okay. Can Dr. Ellis explain what intravenous immunoglobulin treatment is used for and how effective this therapy is?
Good.
And Whitney, I see you. We're going to get back to you. Sorry, Whitney. Okay.
Yeah. So I can't speak too much in terms of the many different conditions that it's used for, but intravenous infusion of IgG or immunoglobulins are usually given to patients who have an immune deficiency disorder. And so by infusing them with these immunoglobulins, it's sort of giving their immune system a boost to kind of help them out. For whatever reason, their immune system isn't producing as many antibodies against pathogens. And so by infusing and adding it into their blood is sort of boosting and improving their immune system. It is temporary. That's why folks have to come back for multiple infusions. But it's designed to support those with low functioning immune systems.
Okay. The Whitney was asking about could this help with someone who has primary immune disorder?
So
PID. Yeah,
again,
yeah,
yeah,
that's what you
Whitney
were
was
touching on that.
talking about the infusion, right?
I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah. Why do I have so much bloating with the supplement? Should I try to write it out? Great question. Well, how long have
The
you been
first,
doing it? How much have you been doing? We need more information on that.
yes. And what supplement is it?
I
Yeah.
think it's the IgG 2000.
So it's,
Go ahead.
oh no, you go ahead.
Okay. Will the IG, sorry, I'm very focused on getting through these. Will
Okay.
IgG 2000 help with diverticulosis?
Ooh, very good question. Okay. So, IgG can help with improving the mucosal barrier in the colon, which is impacted by diverticulosis. It can help with the tight junctions that can be a bit weakened with patients with diverticulosis. However, we always have to remember we go back to the root cause, right? And so, diverticulosis, one of the main symptoms or causes is constipation. So, you want to be careful with IgG, if you are someone who is prone to constipation, you want to start out at a very slow dose and then increase your water. So if you're already drinking your 8 glasses, increase to 10.
And Kathy, that she just answered your question.
Mhm.
Microbiome, you know what? I don't know why Microbiome Labs always rejects your email. I'm so sorry. But is it support at microbiomelabs.com?
That's it.
That's ask them. I'm so sorry. Do they expire? I have some that are out of date but never opened, bought through Microbiome Labs. Don't answer that. Nelson, she's legally not allowed to answer that. That would be just like total chaos. Um, I got I don't know what to tell you. Nelson, I know what that's like. I know what that's like to have something and be like, oh. So I follow the labels a lot. I really do. I
Yes.
pay attention to those. They're there for
Me
a
too.
reason. I've
Me
also
too.
heard other things that are totally opposite. So just for the legal protection, I would have to say follow the label. How
Yes.
many capsules do I take per meal? Juliet wants to know.
Um, 2 caps per
Okay.
meal. Mhm.
Are the cows grass fed or on grain? Sue wants to know how these cows are taken care of.
Ooh, the specifics, I'm trying to pull them up in my head right now. However, they are not grown in America. I believe they're, or grown, but they're not raised in America. I believe they're raised in Europe. So they're well-fed, organic, grass-fed, all of those good things.
I am having deja vu of this exact moment. This is crazy. Okay, I'm shaking it off. Um, you mentioned, or maybe you've asked that question before when we've done this before with Kieran. Wendy, you mentioned that the SBI immunoglobulins maintain the mucus barrier. How do we rebuild the mucus barrier and decrease the leaky junctions? Thanks.
Good question. In the slide deck, when I talk about megamucosa, I talk about the mucin building blocks. So megamucosa is another mucosal product or immunoglobulin product that we have here at Microbiome Labs. And it contains a mix of certain amino acids that turn on the genes that help the goblet cells make more mucin or mucus. So when looking to support that mucosal layer, Megamucosa is a great option. Um, Mucilaginous herbs like marshmallow root and slippery elm can help kind of fill in that gap while you're rebuilding the mucosal layer.
There's a total gut restore that is a whole kit you can get from Microbiome Labs. And that's actually what Kieran goes over in that masterclass. That if you buy anything from Microbiome Labs today before 5 p.m. Eastern and email us at info@sibosos.com, you would actually get access to. So check out the Total Gut Restore, which has the IgG 2000 in it.
Yeah.
Um, Joy, can someone with chronic gastritis use this product? I'm also highly sensitive to supplements and suffering from MCAS, which is
Mm.
mast cell activation syndrome.
Mhm.
Yep.
I think it could support gastritis in the sense where, our stomach it does have a mucosal lining as well. And if the gastritis is caused by H. pylori, the immunoglobulins can bind H. pylori and kind of prevent it from being overabundant and causing that gastritis. What was the second part of her question?
I don't know. The cat distracted me. I'm not doing a good job. I'm so
All good.
sorry. Um,
No worries.
is there any research to suggest that IgG is useful in protecting the microbiome while taking? Now the cat is back. While taking antibiotics. That's an interesting question.
That is an interesting question. To my knowledge, now Immunolin has like 45 different studies. I have yet to read a study that is looking at IgG and its impact alongside antibiotics. However, we do know that antibiotics can cause dysbiosis, right? It kills off kind of everything and often leaves the bad guys, the really bad guys, to hang around. So IgG can come in and kind of kill those off while you're working in the background, or not kill it off, but bind it and remove it while you're working in the background and rebuilding your gut after antibiotics.
Are the immunoglobulins not destroyed by the enzymes in the stomach?
Very, very good question. So, no, they actually do still survive. So, again, these are cow and bovine derived. And so these immunoglobulins survive the gastric tract of the cows, which is a lot more complex than humans, right? So, and even though ingesting them, the immunoglobulins do survive and the proteins stay intact so that they can bind the toxins in the colon.
I've always been very sensitive to probiotics and to fermented foods with symptoms, including stomach upset and inflammation. Could your product help or hurt in this situation?
Hmm. I would imagine that it would help simply because usually when patients are struggling with probiotics and fermented food and all of that, usually that's caused by a little bit of die-off when the bad bacteria are being killed. So IgG can help reduce the die-off reactions by binding up the LPS and toxins that are causing the inflammation.
We only have about 3 minutes left. Carol is saying, would this product help with CIDP or chronic inflammatory demyelination polyneuropathy?
You know, that is a complex condition that I haven't seen before, so I'm unable to answer that question.
Thank you. Jerry, does Microbiome Labs have any products to help with mold toxicity in the body?
Hmm.
I don't think they have a mold protocol per se, right? But
Right, we have a Candida one.
mm,
However, um, immunoglobulins, the SBI, does bind certain mycotoxins, so that would be a good product to add in. And then our Mega Mycobalance is a product that you could add in as well.
if IgG values are elevated in case of food sensitivities, does this mean that low values of IgG are indicators of no food sensitivity and thus are desirable?
It is on a food sensitivity test. If you see low IgG levels or activity, it is a sign that two things: either that food particle has not crossed over that leaky gut and caused your immune system to be activated, or you have an intact gut and that protein isn't making contact with the immune cells.
Rapid fire. Do you have a view on the relationship between detox and progression of autoimmunity? For example, rheumatoid arthritis, scleroderma, and lupus. The relationship between detox and the progression of autoimmunity. Interesting.
Mm. My first thought is thinking that having poor detoxification increases your toxic load, which increases your immune activity and makes your immune system less balanced. So I think it plays a role in autoimmune disease, but the impact is unclear.
Are you familiar with the anti-MAG proteins in blood which attack each other and cause demyelination? And is there an oh my gosh, an immunoglobulin product that will help correct that? So that's basically the same question.
Right. And I don't know enough about that
Okay, that's
specific
fine.
condition.
Okay, can you take this at the same time as Megaspore or away from it, which is best?
Either one. Yes, you can take it with Megasport.
And James is telling us that he had a kidney transplant from mercury causing dysfunction, 14 years of hemodialysis, all amalgams removed, and post transplant 9 years. Good,
All
great.
right.
But post transplant nephrologist who's open minded suggested IgG caution when patients is taking, oh my gosh, these words.
Methylphenidate.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
I would say that they're like, are they like transplant drugs?
Mm-hmm,
Uh,
mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah, the anti-rejection medication.
right, right. So stick with your Megaspore and Restore. You got some great things there. You're doing the Zen Biome Duo. That's awesome. And I'm glad you
Yeah.
ran the Is Microbiome Lab still doing the Biome FX stool test?
We sure are. We sure
Okay,
are.
someone just wrote me the other day saying that they didn't have it anymore. So, and I was like, I haven't heard of that.
Oh, no, 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 we still
Yeah,
have it, and we're adding a SIBO test.
they're
So,
adding a SIBO breath test from
yes, we are.
Aerodiagnostic Labs. I'm very
Hmm.
excited. I'm
Yes,
very
we are.
excited. Yeah. When I don't know when that officially hits, but by the way, the code that we have, I got confirmation that it's also going to be 15% off that test, which honestly, I almost couldn't believe my ears when I heard that from Lacey. So don't hold me to it because it's almost like too good to be true, but try it. That's what I have
Yeah.
to say.
And a little birdie told me it might be dropping this week. So you never know. Keep an eye out on
Mhm,
the
mhm.
shop page.
And I did a little recording for Microbiome Labs on a few things that every patient needs to know for if you have SIBO.
Yes.
And it's
Thank
only
you for
six
doing
minutes
that.
long, but get two is what I'm trying to say. Because just for SIBO for a second, get two because you do the first one, you find out your levels, you do the treatment, you want to check to see how you're doing.
Yes.
So try to get two, especially when you see you can get it on that 15% discount. I'm just saying, keep that
Absolutely.
code handy. All right.
Yeah.
Is any order from Microbiome Labs eligible for the bonuses mentioned, just not just the Megaspore items? Correct. Anything, FODMate, yes, Judy, go for it. Anything from Microbiome Labs. You do have to order in the next 59 minutes and email us tonight at info@sibosos.com. How does the breath test work remotely? Do we send the bag of breath? You actually do. They have
Yeah.
these little scientifically created breath bags
Hmm.
that actually hold the breath for shockingly a couple of weeks, but send it in as soon as you get it done. And they have perfected this technology. It's shocking and wonderful. And Gary Stapleton, who runs Aerodiagnostic Labs, does an amazing job. He's amazing.
Yes, he is.
Okay. Yes. I need a good recommendation for a good Lyme mold doctor that is good with detoxing. For I have MTHFR and comp genes and can't detox. Who do you recommend? You also have MCAS. You know who I'd talk to? Dr. Ann Hill is
Hmm.
amazing, and that is her jam. So yeah, and Dr. Ami Kapadia, but I'm not sure if she's seeing patients anymore. But certainly Dr. Ann Hill, Ann with an E Hill, and she's in Portland, Oregon. Okay, can you?
Oh, can I
Yeah, go
recommend?
ahead,
I
go
would
please,
recommend
Sarah.
Dr. Jaquel Patterson. She's in Connecticut, and she'll be speaking at our microbiome keynote symposium. Yeah, she's going to talk about the connection between the gut microbiome, Lyme disease, and women and hormones.
Oh, that's huge. What's her last name? Patterson?
Patterson, Dr. Jaquel
Jaquel.
Patterson.
Oh, great
Hmm.
first name.
I know, right?
Okay, all right, I'm still going. How big hugs? Yes, please talk to them about the UK email for sure. Big hugs. How do you the formulations prevent proteolysis, and hence
Mm.
inactivation by proteases of the IgGs in the stomach? How much of the Ig actually survives transit through the stomach and the upper GI?
Hey, Mac, this is a great, great question that I would actually have to pass or get some details from the science team over at Immunolin in terms of getting that percentage for you. We do have data that shows that it does survive the gastric tract and those proteolytic enzymes that are designed to break down the protein. So I can try and get those details for you.
I mean, the bottom line is it works for
Yeah.
most people. Everyone has different acid levels. I really don't want to put Sarah on the spot of having to go do something else and get back to you with a percentage. You could write support at Microbiome Labs. I'm sorry to intervene here. .com and see if they can help you out. What products do I need to heal the gut and bind toxins? Just Mega 2000 or another product too. If you really want to heal the gut, you should go onto the Microbiome Labs website and look for the Total Gut Restoration Kit, Total Gut Restore. And they're all right there for you. And this isn't medical advice. Individual results are going to vary, but that's what people have had tremendous success with historically and typically.
Mhm.
Can a colonoscopy prep release LPS, lipopolysaccharides, and cause an autoimmune flare, joints of finger aching in the morning?
Hmm.
Look, I've done a colonoscopy prep recently, and I'm going to say yes to that.
Yeah,
It's
it's
quite violent.
possible. Yeah,
It
it's
really
definitely
is.
possible.
Plus, let's talk about the prep. Are you used to taking all that chemical? Are
I
you
just was gonna say
drink
that. Yes.
right? Are you drinking a
Yes.
gallon of apple juice that you don't usually drink all that sugar and can definitely cause an inflammation response?
Yes.
So, yeah,
And you're kind of washing out your good bacteria, so you have to re-inoculate and
populate.
re-add those. So yes.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to be wrapping up. But will fasting help? I have two more questions. Will fasting help rid LPS?
Rid, no.
Okay.
LPS exists in that bacteria, and so as long as that bad bacteria is in there, LPS will be there.
All right. And can you take Pyloguard at the same time as the Mega Mucosa product?
Yes, I really don't see a reason why you couldn't. And the bacteria is dead. We're really just relying on its surface. So yes, you can take them both.
Okay. Here is the information one more time. There it is. Keep your eye out on the Microbiome Labs website for the Aerodiagnostics SIBO breath test that's coming in hot there this week. I'm very excited about that.
Mhm.
And do you vouch for enemas regarding detox at the same time?
They're
Very
helpful,
specific.
but not, yeah, not the core. I think that they play a role, but you need
They
more.
can play, and I know a lot of people that have detoxed without them. I know other people that swear by them.
Exactly.
It really it's a tool. It's like sauna is a tool,
Yes,
right?
exactly. Exactly it.
Okay. Um, okay, we I just want to also share with you that if you do order by 5 p.m. Eastern time, then you will be and send us the proof of purchase to info@sibosos.com using our link. Thank you. Then we will send you the slides. We'll also send you that Kiran Krishnan masterclass on how to heal and seal the gut lining. Um, so with that being said, I think that's it. Thank you all so much. Sarah, great job. As usual,
Thank
Dr. Ellis,
you.
amazing. I can't wait to see you. Petunia the cat says hi. Hi, Menzel. Thank you for that. I know you're such a Petunia fan, and she's a fan of yours too. James, glad you're here and that you're doing well. And I'm glad you got that stool test. They do have stool tests there. They're very special, great technology. We've done workshops on that in the past. And I'm just really glad you all are here spending some time with us. I thank you all so much. So
Thank you for having me. Take care,
thank
everyone.
you. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.